I don't even need to introduce our next speaker. You all know about the book, and you'll be buying a copy at the special FIP discounted rate later. So please welcome Juan Señor.
So I'm here to talk about the future for those of you who choose it. We've been doing this since 2010, bringing this book to you every year to really talk about the future. And looking back in the last 8 years, it's quite relevant. And with true humility, a lot of what's in these books really has come true. We didn't get everything right, but really it does show a way forward. And here we are with this year's edition. It's really about the most successful media innovations globally. We are not academics, we're not researchers. This is really based on our consultancy work with many of our clients here, and really based on best practice. So we really walk the talk, and is very much based on those innovations that have traction. You know your company, we're here to talk about your industry. To disrupt disruption, really this book does it this year, and to puncture hype, because there's a lot of hype that we try to clear every year with the book, and really get to those especially technology-driven innovations that are really here to stay, and those who are just trends or being pushed on us by Silicon Valley. And we organize chaos. Part of our work with many of our clients globally is indeed to try to organize that chaos. So, 5 strands this year, and the famous offbeat chapter. The first one, monetization. Finally, we're here to present a business model that makes sense of money. We're here to talk about digital narratives. It is the golden age for journalism, lifestyle journalism, political journalism, consumer hobby journalism, business-to-business journalism that our magazines talk about, but only for a few of you. Distributed content. We have a very definitive recommendation based on best practice as to how to deal with this, how to finally end the addiction to Facebook and Google. And we're here to talk about media tech. We've narrowed down to 6 media technologies that we believe you need to know about and why. And finally, we end as the 5th strand this year on the new print. What is the new print? What does it mean? What role does it play within the universe of all the media platforms you have to keep up in the air, juggling in the coming decade? And lastly, the offbeat, because we found that there's a lot of digital innovation, but also a lot of innovation is just not coming from digital, but from other platforms. So first, monetization. There really is a new business model out there, and it's good to talk about it. But before we talk about it, I think it's important to talk about our original sin. Because we did commit an original sin, and without reflection, it's very difficult to find redemption. And of course, that original sin, we all know about it, is that free today somehow will pay off tomorrow. And I think any of you who have not acknowledged that original sin, it's going to be very difficult for you to find that redemption. So how do we find redemption? What is the single most important innovation to succeed in the digital age today? It is this: to migrate from ad revenue to reader revenue. In the book, during this presentation, in the next 20 minutes, I'll talk about many things, but this is the fundamental message today. This is the original sin that we need to correct. Without this correction, you can invest, approach, consider all kinds of other innovative technologies, strategies, but unless this is addressed, first and foremost, you will really not make it. And our message is strong, is really you should not be in publishing. You're not charging for digital content, let alone journalism. You need to ask readers today, anybody who comes to any of your digital assets, for their data or their dollars. If not, it's game over. And that translates data or dollars into a data wall or a paywall. And very interesting, because we'll talk about this, because a lot of people say, but what I do really is not payable. Yes, but the data is very important. We have clients where just getting that data wall can be much more valuable than just generate a subscription, a traditional all subscription with periodicity and all this throughout a year, or a multi-year subscription. But getting that data is very, very important. And still, we've lost the confidence. And we wonder, when did we lose our confidence that people should register with us or pay for us? And again, this is a very important reflection that I think all you need to look at sincerely going forward. Unless they give you their data or their dollars, you really should not be in publishing. And it's obvious, digital advertising is on its way out. It's not going to pay the bills. It is dying. It is the domain of Google and Facebook. This business model is finito, caput, se ha acabado. And you're out of kilter. We're out of kilter because of it. So if you're still trying to build the business on display ad revenue, it's absurd. It's a one-legged stool. And it's growing in some markets. Yes, display advertising is growing, but it's growing for these two. These are the figures. You can look at your particular market. It'll be the same everywhere. It's not coming back to us. We lost it. There's not enough money for you to pay and to build a digital business based on this. So if your magazine media brand is based on display ad, still today, you're not just in serious trouble, but you're quite vulnerable. And look at those digital players that have even come here. We looked at them and celebrated them in recent past as the future. Profit warnings, laying people off. Vice is in trouble as well. They're having to expose valuation through the floor. These people would never contemplate a transactional experience or agreement with a reader. Because when something's cheap, someone inevitably pays the price, and it's been us paying that price. And one thing, strategically, you really should look at it in these terms. Everything that generates value really should generate revenue. And you do create tremendous value for your readers. Why? Why have we lost the confidence to explore charging for this? And this is just me saying it, the editor of GQ, really talking about we're at a turning point. We're turning the corner. If you want quality journalism, again, lifestyle journalism, consumer journalism, hobby journalism, really, why have we lost the confidence yet again? So how do we do it? How do we migrate from ad revenue to reader revenue? Well, this is a traditional funnel. This is really the way to begin to do it, to get from those massive plays on traffic that we did for the last 2 decades onto people who we retain and we renew with a transaction, or people we identify and are able to engage later on with other revenue propositions. This is the conversion funnel for one of our clients in New York. The name has been taken out, but they had those many unique visitors per month, and taking them through that data wall and taking them through that paywall, you get some really, really interesting conversions. But again, this took a lot of confidence and a lot of attitude for them to change the mindset of the organization to get to people's giving them their data or their dollars. Early lessons for this entire experience we looked at in the book. Number one, people are willing to pay for content. Really, as the GQ editor says, we have turned the corner. Millennials, and most of us here who grew up and saw, in some cases, the birth of the internet, really looked and associated it as a free platform. Free meant open, open meant free, and free had to have a value proposition as well, not paying for it. But this has changed. All our kids, all of us today are paying for Netflix. All of us pretty much have Spotify. Reduced traffic is not catastrophic. Once you make the transition, really, you still have enough commodity inventory to keep that display ad revenue coming. And at least 3% of your unique visitors in many, many very specialized magazines, that's up to 7. In some cases, we've seen 9% instant conversion rates of unique visitors to paying customers. And of course, the conversion rate to people giving you their data, if you have a specialized content proposition, is much, much higher. You must keep that social media traffic. It's not a binary choice. You have to choose to be in social, and yet if you begin to charge or demand data, therefore you can be in social, not so. And charging online helps the paper product. The bundling play works quite well. And very interesting that a lot of clients are looking at, okay, the starting from the end. Well, which methodology should I use to charge? Should I have a paywall, a meter, a freemium? Well, we're seeing the emergence now of dynamic paywalls. This is following the concept of yield software that you see with low-cost airlines or with Zara when you buy for shopping and so on. They actually measure demand and they increase the prices. Schibsted is doing this. Is doing it by checking when people are really interested in content and putting up a paywall of some sort. It may be metered, it may be hard, it may be what they really do judge people may be demanding at the time. And in this case, they're also using reader behavior to target subscriptions to them with a very interesting conversion rate of 22% on a fairly simple technology that we write about here in the book. But this is the kind of obsession with offering dynamic paywalls today that is paying off. And this then becomes the obsession. What is the content that triggers a subscription? What is it? It's not the content that triggers traffic or the content that is viral. It is the content that triggers a subscription. And this is really the question of the next year for all of you to really discuss with particularly editors, because they will really do have the answer eventually. So who's doing this well? Unsurprisingly, The Economist is doing this well, and they are talking about being reassuringly expensive. But when you look deep into their model, what's interesting is that they use bundling in a very clever way, and they use the rule of 3, meaning that always the price points for that subscription are what Apple has done for many decades: the cheap, the medium, and the high. And people always go to the medium when you give them a choice of 3. It's difficult for people to reject three offers unless the price propositions are unimaginable for them. But if it's realistic, really using the rule of 3, it's paying off handsomely for The Economist. And also very interesting, if you look deep, they have a membership concept. So you belong. It's exclusivity. They're not selling you a subscription. They're selling you the fact that you belong to a certain group of people. But of course, that content has to be worth paying for. And Condé Nast saying this: if you really do get that content right, if you know and you invest in content that triggers a subscription, a big payday is coming. Deloitte is also confirming this. 50% of adults here in the Western Hemisphere and other developed countries will at least have two subscriptions by the end of 2018. These are media subscriptions, yes? And that is going to double. There will be 4 subscriptions by 2020. So people, again, are willing to pay for content, and if you should be one of those 4. There's no reason, if you've developed that relationship, to go for it in the next few years. The New Yorker has managed to do this already. They're one of those rare club publications in this club who really have managed to get more revenue from readers than from advertisers. 65% of their revenue is already there, and they believe that they can double the number of paying subscribers by 2023. So very interesting, really, when you look at them, how they've done it. Even though growing the price by 20%, again, attitude, confidence, and really going for perhaps a smaller number of subscribers, but a much higher price transaction. We believe the benchmark should be for you to be aiming to 40% of your revenue coming from readers. This is a healthy place to be, or a healthy place to aim. If you can get to the New Yorker to 60, brilliant, but aim for 40, and really should be the minimum in terms of digital revenue model. Because again, a page views-based advertising model is incompatible, and really it's essential for you to restore this to then be able to have other revenue from readers. Because if you sell them content, you'll be able to sell them this. This is the New York Magazine's strategist site. Very interesting innovation. They spun it off. Now it's a standalone experience. It's essentially service journalism. It's recommendations that now take you into products that you can then purchase. Fantastic success, but very much, again, if you can sell them content, you'll be able to sell them these products that affiliates want to sell to them, anchored on content that they're already paying for. The revenue for the affiliates, phenomenal, 20 to 40% per month. So this is the magazine as a retailer. We talked about Amazon, the Amazonification of magazines. This is a very good example of how that plays out. And if you sell them content, you'll be able to sell them beef jerky. And so licensing as well. We're seeing that if the transaction is there at some point, if the person is paying for the content or has given the data, there's this proclivity to indeed consume and pay for other products that are licensed. Men's health, very interesting play on licensing all kinds of products very successfully to their paying readers or subscribed readers. In the book, we also talked about advice revenue. Very interesting for you to get your head around this. There's a lot here, 150 pages on all this, data-driven advertising and so on and so on. I want to talk about digital narratives fairly quickly because this is a very important development. Talk about robot stories. This is really a breakthrough, we think. It started in the mid-2016 with the Washington Post. It's called Heliograph, the actual algorithm. This is really artificial intelligence applied to publishing. They're creating robot stories, 350 Olympic stories they did. They've done hundreds of elections reports, hundreds of local school stories. And if you're B2B particularly, many B2Bs of you here, you should be investing in this, yes, yes, or yes. Or even B2C. It's phenomenal, once you get your head around this, how useful it can be. Let me give you 6 reasons. There's really it's limitless, the number of stories that these robots can produce with AI once you get the algorithm done. They can work, obviously, automated 24 hours throughout the day. And it takes you to chatbots and automated video and audio services, which we'll talk about in a moment, and to paid services. The stories can be personalized. They're 100% accurate, of course, and their running costs are just 1/5 of human costs. What are we talking about? If you're B2B, housing starts, court rulings, if you're in the legal business, if you're in the business of business, talk about corporate reports and so on. Robots should be doing this. And what's interesting, it's freeing your journalists to do quality journalism. It's freeing them to do analysis, to do face-to-face interviews, to do background research. All the money you've paid for decades for these people to spit out all these reports that consumers find very useful, can be done by robots. So this really is how artificial intelligence is being applied. There's a lot of talk about it. We really think that the Heliograph of the Washington Post is a case to look at, to emulate. And again, the technology is not that complicated, and I'm sure there are plenty of suppliers that can help you to build your own robot journalists. In the book, in terms of new digital frontiers of narratives, we talk about horizontal stories. We talk about live stream video, how to do that properly, multimedia storytelling as well, audio and chatbots. Distributed content. We really do think that it's time to end the Facebook addiction. And unfortunately, this is a duopoly that we're foolishly fomenting. We're succumbing to their charm offensive, and they're still at it. Of course, they've changed their algorithm, and that has had a tremendous impact for a lot of publishers, particularly in America. But still, they really want us to be their white label publishers. And this has to end, not just Facebook and Google from our point of view. Remember, money's made where the article is viewed. Why are we not seeing this? It's so simple. The rest, we'll get you traffic, we'll get subscriptions. We're vulnerable, they're in control. Why? What is the return? Is there really a significant return? Is any publisher really making that much money out of it? And we're losing money and we're losing trust. It's that serious. And it's not me just saying it. It's really New Republic. It's terrible for the soul. Sorry about the photographs, Facebook, you're here. Because the values of these platforms really are shaping people's perceptions of the value. And people now do not trust what they're reading on Facebook. And you're there. Does this make sense? But look, I'm tired. I'm tired of this old duopoly whinge. And we have to stop playing defense. I'm tired of it. Because before Facebook and Google, we had Yahoo and AOL. And if you look back at the history magazines, they were always duopolies. So stop playing defense. Time to play offense. So treat your site as a destination. Again, if you want to get from ad revenue to reader revenue, your site has to be a destination. You have to restore the habit of people going to your app or to your site. If you do not restore that habit, you're playing into their game, into their hands. Only serve appetizers. And as Gregor, who is here, famously said, the last thing you need is more visitors. What you need is more paying customers. The exception, Instagram. In the book, we talk about best practice on this. It's a fantastic platform. The engagement is really high. The conversion rates are phenomenal. And indeed, this is a fantastic way for magazines to get proper engagement that you control, except for the data. But you very much control this platform. So it's a great conversion platform. So of all of the Facebook universe, we really encourage you to do a big play on Instagram. In the book, when it comes to, distributed content, we talk about all these other things, how to do proper Facebook groups, push notifications, Twitter, messaging apps, etc. And again, you shouldn't be a Luddite, yeah? You should be in these platforms, but you should be in your own terms and with some of the attitude that we've talked about, and playing offense, not defense, yes? The 6 media technologies you need to know about. In the book, we write about this in detail, and some very, very exciting ones. But first of all, what we did not see in 2017. If you're investing in this, get out. As somebody famously said recently, I know more people who have VR companies than people who have VR devices. Yeah? Get out. There's no future in this. Augmented reality is very interesting. Apple is doing a big play on this, but this has no traction. A lot of this has been underwritten by the people who make the devices, Samsung and Google. But really, when have you seen somebody using this device? Honestly, other than kids playing games and other than at conferences perhaps behind me. I haven't gone there to look, but we see some very interesting things. 2 to highlight, there are 6 of them in the book, but chatbots. Chatbots are very, very interesting, have a lot of tractions. 47% of consumers would buy from a chatbot. 59% of US millennials are really using them. And by 2020, the average adult will have more conversation with the chatbot than with his or her spouse. So this is happening, and it's a great way for you, again, if you've invested in robot journalism, you're halfway through here. And this is really interesting how you can automatically have a discussion with somebody about something that really matters to them. And in the book, we take you through examples of what that really means. What is this kind of chatbot journalism? And this is incredible. If you're in lifestyle, in fashion, in consumer, in health and beauty, magazine publishing, visual search is a great breakthrough. Shoppers, obviously, you can point the device. This is also tied in with augmented reality, but visual search in particular, you can check anything, just put your phone to it on a live camera or with a special download, the special app, and indeed you can see information about it. You can even see it in your own body if you've photographed your own body in advance. And of course, the job of the fashion magazine, from our point of view, should be the one telling that person what they should buy with an editorial critical eye and then having an e-commerce platform at the end of it. Unfortunately, here, yet again, we're distracted with virtual reality. We're not seeing the opportunity of this. Google and other e-commerce brands are already doing it. So we must be there with a visual search. A fashion magazine really should be the one telling people what they should buy and what they should not. Visual search at the moment dominated by Google, but it's well worth a conversation with them to see how you can apply it to your journalism. Finally, the new print. Everybody trying to figure out, how do I still make print relevant, profitable going forward? And really, it really has to be a premium experience. And pricing matters. We're seeing people making the jump to a pricing multiple of 5 for the old copy sale and having very good success. So it's counterintuitive. In an age of less print, bigger, more expensive print. And another interesting trend we're seeing is reverse publishing, from digital to print. Mondadori, a great example. They take the best food blogger in Italy, and they launch this very successful and popular print magazine. Also, we've seen it with Reader's Digest, taking the Ultimate Health Guide, which tracked extremely well on digital, and going out to print. So from digital, once you have an established audience, you go to print. And The Week, Junior, very interesting, finding that niche. And the marketing here is a little the same marketing of Pixar. You market to the parents for the kids. So they marketed to the parents to sell a magazine to a tweenie, a 9-year-old pre-tween, teen, and doing very, very successful with this print junior magazine. Also, we like this tie-ins, how to make print very relevant and very much an experience. So premium experience, Vogue with Google Home, and Forbes also in its 100th anniversary, tying it in with a digital experience that led to a lot of people looking into this. So the keys to successful print, premium at all these levels, yes? To conclude, the single most important innovation, as I said, is to migrate from ad revenue to reader revenue, to find redemption from our original sin. It is good to live alive with our original sin, isn't it? It's time to get started, to clean our souls. Sorry, this sounds very prophetic, but I thought I will keep it going to just drive the point home. There is no instant digital salvation. There are no digital miracles. Unless you get people to pay for your content, you have no future in publishing. Innovation in media tech, in gadgets, in widgets will not save you. Innovation in events, e-commerce, licensing, and video, great revenue, keep it coming, build it, invest in it, but it will still not save you. Only journalism will save journalism. Political journalism, lifestyle journalism, consumer journalism. Again, only journalism will save journalism. Journalism worth paying for. So innovate or die, change or die, charge or die. Thank you.